Draft coverage continues here on CBS Sports HQ. Back here with Avery Johnson, Gary Parrish, and Adam Finkelstein talking winners and losers from the NBA draft. Avery, there were some winners. There were some losers. We're going to start with the winners. You're a winner. The biggest winner on draft night was who?
New York Knicks.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sometimes it's not always about who you draft, but it's positioning yourself for free agency. Where the New York Knicks were drafted, there's not a player that could have helped them to a level if they're able to add a Jalen Brunson with cap space. They hired Jalen Brunson's dad, Rick Brunson, to be an assistant coach. That's somewhat like a college move. I've seen that before. So we'll see where that goes. But again, they created some more space. They got rid of some contracts. They were able to get rid of some draft picks. But again, they created space. Right now, the Knicks, they're a team that's trying to get back in the playoff hunt. Obviously, they made it, 2 years ago. They lost to Atlanta. They didn't make it last year. Tom Thibodeau doesn't have, 5 more years to coach this team. So I just think this was a situation where the Knicks did a nice job creating space so that they can add a key veteran free agent to their roster in the offseason.
Yeah, just to recap what the Knicks did, they traded the 11th overall selection to Oklahoma City. They dumped Kemba Walker's salary to Detroit, and they got 3 future first-round picks. So pretty good haul for the Knicks on draft night. Your biggest winner is who?
Patrick Baldwin. This is a guy who was a top 10 prospect coming out of high school and decided to go play at Milwaukee for his father, which made sense at the time because his father was on the so-called hot seat. And if you have an opportunity to get your father a contract extension and you're only doing 1 year of school anyway and then head it off to the NBA, I understood the rationale behind that. I even respected it. But we can all agree with the benefit of hindsight, it didn't go well. First and foremost, he didn't save his father's job. And beyond that, he barely played, only 11 games. And that means he's been banged up really for 2 straight years. There's some real questions going into this draft about whether he'd be picked in the first round. And not only does he go in the first round, but he goes to the reigning world champions where, think about this, the difference from 1 year to the next. Go to Milwaukee, be a star, save your father's job. Now it's go to Golden State and your ankle's bad, get it well. You need to get in better shape, take your time. We're fine. You're going to be surrounded by 2 of the best shooters of all time. If Patrick Baldwin's going to last in this league, it's going to be because he's a shooter with size. So you're surrounded by some of the best guys who have ever done it, including the best guy who's ever done it, with no pressure whatsoever. I can't think of anybody projected in that range who landed in a better spot.
I got to go with the Detroit Pistons.
Yep.
I'm going to go back to the night of the draft lottery. Everybody was saying that this was a 4-player draft. You've got Paolo, you've got Chet, you've got Jabari, and you got Jaden Ivey. And so whoever was selected 5th was going to be the unlucky loser. Detroit Pistons came up with that 5th spot. But what do? They managed to convince one of those 4 players in the draft to hold out and basically leverage his way into going to Detroit. And again, this is a franchise that no one wanted to play for just a few years back. And so now they have not one, but they have 2 big wins tonight because they also got Jalen Duren. And you rewind a year, Cade Cunningham is the player that got this all started. People want to play with Cade Cunningham. And now you have 3 high-level young talents to build around, and I love that foundation moving forward for the Pistons.
And I also love it because they're not playing in Auburn Hills anymore.
Nope.
45 minutes from downtown. They're downtown. And now, you give Dwayne Casey an opportunity to really develop this team the same way he developed the Toronto Raptors before he got fired after being coach of the year. But this is a happy night. We don't want to bring up bad memories.
It's a happy night. They're going to make a T-shirt with Jaden and Jalen headed to Detroit. All right, biggest loser, a team that struggled in your eyes on draft night that was maybe a swing and a miss.
Should we all say it at the same time?
You all want to see? You all agree?
1, 2, 3, Sacramento
Kings. The biggest loser. Because when you have a talent like Jaden Ivey sitting there, independent of whether he wants to play for you or not, this kid is a starting point guard, a starting guard. And it's hard to find this type of an asset. And we've known that the Sacramento Kings has missed before recently. They didn't draft this guy called Luka Doncic.
Right.
And because of that, it's
They got Marvin Bagley III, who's now plays for Detroit.
But again, I think this is my biggest loser, and I agree with the guys. And you got a new coach in Mike Brown, who, if Jaden Ivey, who we think he is, you've had an opportunity to watch this De'Aaron Fox show for a couple of years now, and that hasn't worked out.
What if Keegan Murray becomes a Hall of Famer, though?
Well, then we'll delete
We'll
this.
walk it back.
We'll just delete it.
Okay.
It's fine. We can get things off the internet, right? But you know what? This might end up working out, but it doesn't mean the strategy behind it made any sense. You could have an 18 at the blackjack table, hit it, and get a 21. But it don't mean what you did made sense. And most everybody agreed that Jaden Ivey was the fourth best prospect in this draft class. You were picking fourth. That's an asset. And even if you think he doesn't want to come to you and you think it'll be a problem if he is asked to come play for you, you still pick him. And if Detroit wants him, come get him. Come talk to us. We're not just going to allow you to get the fourth best prospect with the fifth pick. You're going to have to come give us something to move us off of this guy, or we'll just keep him and work it out. For them to just say, well, I guess we'll take Keegan Murray instead. I do not believe they think Keegan Murray was the better prospect. I just think they believe Keegan Murray was the easier thing to do, and I don't think that's how you run a basketball franchise.
Yeah, and to me, this isn't about Keegan Murray. I'm a believer in Keegan Murray. I'm a believer in the linear path of his development, not just over the last year, but over the last 3 or 4 years. This is about the fact that there's probably no other team that would have taken anybody but Jaden Ivey in that fourth spot. And why did they do it? Because they got leveraged into doing it by the prospect and the agency. And that is not a way to gain respectability when you are an organization whose respectability has been questioned historically. So I just think they lost face tonight.
And that's the issue, is that ultimately this might work out. And if Toronto had done this or San Antonio had done this, we'd be up here saying things like, not really what we would have done, but we'll see. Because they have proven over time they know what they're doing. The Kings, and I say this as respectfully as I can say it, but they have proven over time that they make mistakes on this night and in other places. So they don't get the benefit of the doubt. There may be a time 3 years from now where this looks smart, but it's going to have to be undeniable proof that it was smart before anybody says that it was.
And you said this before. If Keegan Murray's your guy, trade the pick.
Right.
Trade the pick and get him at 5. We've seen everybody. Maybe they tried, but if Keegan Murray is your guy, you've got to pick up another asset. You can get him later.
And the Western Conference, if you look at all of the teams, you need extremely high-level guard play. That's where it starts. So even if you, for whatever reason, say, we're not going to go down the route with Ivey and we draft Ben Mathurin, again, there's some validity to understanding, we can understand that thought process where you're going to try to pair Mathurin up with De'Aaron Fox, bring Davion Mitchell off the bench. Buddy Hield has historically been unhappy there.
Yep.
He wanted to get traded. But again, we'll see how it turns out. But I agree. This is I don't think this is a great night for the Sacramento Kings because they didn't select the best player.
Y'all in unison there, singing the same tune. Maybe we'll become a barbershop quartet.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.